Hey everyone, what's up? Hold on for a sec. Make sure everything's adjusted here right. Here we go. Just adjusting the volume there. Make sure. There we go. Just making sure everything's neatly in order. But yeah, I thought I'd come on here and talk about Saturday morning cartoons. Excuse me, I got a cough drop in my mouth, a Hall's cough drop, trying to get over a cold, sore throat and stuff. But I'm up here to talk about what Saturday morning cartoons was, what they could have been, and possibly what if. And uh, I guess the best way to start this off is to kind of look back at Saturday morning cartoons because I'm pretty sure by now it's almost been 4 years, going on 4 years in September, at the end of September this year, or five, depending on whether or not you round it out by year. Because if you round it out by year, it's going to be four. If you just go like straight on, just like, okay, September 27th, 2014 was the first year, 15 was the second year, 16 was the third year, 17 was the fourth year, now 18 is the fifth year. Depending on how you look at it, it's basically going to be 4 years if you round it out. If you go by, anniversary dates, birth date kind of a format, it's going to be about 4 years. But like I said, if you go just straight through, like let's say WWE does with WrestleMania, or the Super Bowl, or the NFL does with the Super Bowl, then practically you're looking at basically 5 years. It'll be a 5 year anniversary straight. Now, because like I said, if you take away the birthday anniversary kind of loop or format, you're kind of looking at basically 5 years without Saturday morning broadcast television cartoons. Yeah, 5 years since it all ended. And this is a phenomenon that began back in 1962 and ran till 2014. That's 52 years. It's saying a lot. To go through all the ups and downs that these Saturday morning blocks did just to get a footing and become what they were is a huge success in its own right. I mean, yeah, they were plagued with problems from the beginning, from the outside, because you had all these parental groups, all these educational groups, all these groups that went after the communication companies, like the FCC, I think at the time when they were around. I think they were around back then. I'm not really sure, or something similar to them. Sorry, my finger, the filter there, but basically they had their ups and downs from the beginning until the very end. Now, there's no doubt that as you got more towards the very end, that it seemed that the strict rule that was placed on the Saturday morning cartoons was kind of being not lifted, but there was more leniency. There was a little bit more leniency given to what you could see with Saturday morning cartoons. There was a little bit more like, okay, you can get away with this, but you just can't get away with that. And I'm guessing is that because they probably knew the end was coming close, they pretty much figured, you know what, we're not going to have to worry about broadcast Saturday morning cartoons anymore, or broadcast networks Saturday morning cartoons anymore. Let's let them have what they want. And it's pretty much what you got. Pretty much what you got in a way. Again, not saying that the cartoons, even towards the end, were restricted, because there were some moments that were kind of edited out or cut out from the original broadcast of a show. For example, both Justice League and Justice League Unlimited aired on the Vortex, on CW's Vortex, towards the end of Saturday morning cartoons. basically in the last ditch effort to keep that format going. And even though you could watch these episodes uncut, in a sense, on Cartoon Network, when it came to the Vortex on the CW, there were certain parts that were cut out, and sometimes for no reason. Either it was because of time restraints, or mainly because of the fact that they felt that the scenes were too violent or weren't suitable to be seen on broadcast television. No one can really say what the real reasoning was. But as time went on during that one last effort to keep Saturday morning cartoons going, pretty much we all knew it was a foregone conclusion, and inevitably that would be the end, and it was. But here's the thing about Saturday morning cartoons. For 52 years, they were such a cultural phenomenon. They had such a cultural pop. They had such a pop cultural. What's the word I'm looking for? Just had it. Impact. That's the word I'm looking for. Pop cultural impact on everyone. That not just kids, but mostly those that grew up in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 60s and 50s, felt upset, were disappointed that Saturday morning cartoons were coming to an end. I mean, even if they didn't watch Saturday morning cartoons anymore, and they were parents, grandparents of their own, there was still a bit of disappointment and anger at the fact that this happened. Because Saturday morning cartoons was such in a way an essential part of their life, just like it was for their kids and grandkids. And to see it now just put to the wayside was disappointing. Here's the silver lining, in a sense. Here's the silver lining. There are some syndicated over-the-air broadcast networks that are trying to, in a sense, bring Saturday morning cartoons back. Not full throttle, but just in a way give you something very reminiscent of it. Sinclair Broadcasting, who has been who's kind of shrouded in some kind of investigation along with Ajit Pai. Sinclair Broadcasting, through a lot of their affiliates, is trying to bring Saturday morning cartoons back in a very subtle way with what's called Kid Choice. And if I can look that up here, get a better idea. No, that's not it. Oh, what was it? Oh, I think I know what it is. Hold on. Kids Click. That's what it's called. It's called Kids Click. This is something that began in 2017, July 1st of 2017. And according to Wikipedia, the block, which primarily consists of long-form animated series as well as some short-form content, is carried in the U.S. on Digital Multicast Network. network, This TV, and on Sinclair owned operated television networks. At launch, the block was available in 75 million households. The block also marked the return of traditional weekday cartoons and Saturday morning cartoons to over the air television as a network, as well as the first children's programming block on the U.S. broadcast television not to comply with the Children's Television Act regulations since the Saban brand's produced Vortex was discontinued by the CW. Now, they do say that the This TV iteration of the block will accompany an existing unbranded lineup of educational program on weekend mornings, which has aired on the network since 2013 after the discontinuation of Cookie Jar Tunes, which coincided with original co-owner Rigid Broadcasting's transferring its 50% interest in the network to Tribune Broadcasting, as well as the Cookie Jar Group's absorption into DHX Media. It also marks the first time that This TV has carried children's programming on Monday through Saturday mornings since Tribune, which Sinclair announced that it would acquire on May 8th of last year, assume partial ownership of the network. Now, according to this, the scheduling is this. The block transmits every Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. local time. Anywhere in the U.S., it's that time frame. Now, Saturday and Sundays from 7 to 10 local time. Now, here's what they say. As this TV runs only in 480i standard definition, the block runs in a little box format on the network, as the entire block mainly features programming designed for 16 by 9 high definition display, which is how it airs most affiliated and Sinclair stations. So right now, the shows that are on there, are Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures, originally on Disney XD. Pink Panther and Pals, Super 4, Angry Bird Tunes, Max Steel, Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir, Team Hot Wheels, and Dinosaur King. Some basically shows that we have seen on Disney XD are now on there. Former programming was Robocop, Alpha Commando, Scary Larry, Rocket Monkeys, Zack Storm, Winx Club. Now, it does give an idea of where some of people can see this. The closest to me is Chico, Redding, California, and Eureka, California, and Fresno. I'm trying to find if there's anyone that's close to me, because I live around the Sacramento area. And no, the closest we get is Fresno, Valisa, California, KFRE, and Chico, Redding, California, which is KCVU, and Eureka, California, which is KBVW. That's the closest I get. But the point is, there are places like Sinclair Broadcasting, along with its networks and affiliates, that are slowly, not full throttle, like I said, but fully, not full throttle, I should say, but sort of semi, if not subtly, bringing back Saturday morning cartoons and even weekday morning cartoons. Because I think someone there realized, in a sense, that there's nothing really wrong. There's nothing wrong with showing cartoons during the day or during the Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings. There's no problem with that. And what's great about this is it doesn't comply with the Children's Television Act, which basically means um, it's almost, in a sense, uncut. Now, the problem though with this TV, which is an affiliate and kind of semi-owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, is the only way they are airing this block in the places that they air it. The only way they're doing this is by complying still with the Children's Television Act, with the EI, with the FCC, by keeping that unbranded educational stuff that's been around, like I said, like I read off there, since 2013. But it does show that Saturday morning cartoons still has a pulse, in a sense, and has a chance to really come back. But again, getting back to what I was saying, Saturday morning cartoons was an institution. It had a huge impact on our lives growing up. It was the only day that we could really sit back and relax. I mean, true, we had cartoons on the weekday afternoons when we got out of school, and some during the weekday mornings before we went to school. But Saturday mornings were the only times we got to sit back and just relax, get a bowl of cereal, get a Pop-Tart, whatever, get scrambled eggs, bacon, or sausage, whatever, sit back and watch Saturday morning cartoons. It was the only time. And what made it special is usually during the weekdays, the big three, or in some cases the big four, which it was later on, never showed cartoons, well, with the exception of Fox, that is, but never really showed cartoons during the weekdays. The big three, the original big three, never showed cartoons during the weekdays. So when they would when they would dedicate Saturday mornings to it, it became something special. It became something special because you were watching cartoons that at the time were only exclusive to these networks. That, yeah, later on they'd end up in syndication and you could watch them on these syndicated networks. But before that even happened, what made it special was you could only watch it here. And sometimes if a popular cartoon off syndication ended up on Saturday mornings on one of the big three, what made it even more special was that was the only place you'd be able to watch exclusively new episodes. Like with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when CBS acquired them to air on Saturday mornings, you could only watch the newer episodes, the newest seasons, on Saturday mornings, on CBS Saturday mornings. Now, there were a few exceptions. Sometimes the same season that would air on CBS Saturday mornings, they would have episodes exclusively reserved for syndication, just like they did with CBS. But still, a majority of the time, you'd only see it on Saturday mornings. That was it. So, to me, that was a blessing in disguise. So to me, as a fan growing up with the show, that was a blessing. That was a blessing in disguise because it's like, wow, I didn't expect this to be something that I could actually sit back and enjoy. Or that I would enjoy even more because, yeah, I got to watch them on the weekdays, but to watch new episodes on the weekend, on the Saturday, even better. Even better. And I enjoyed that. I appreciated that. And again, like I said, it goes back to what I was talking about. The fact that certain cartoons, if they were popular enough, ended up getting a chance on the big three, on one of the big 3 or 4 as a Saturday morning cartoon. Excuse me there. And sometimes and it wasn't just Turtles either. There was a variety that got an opportunity. A variety. You know, heck, Cops, which was originally a syndicated show, made a comeback in the early to mid '90s on CBS but under the title Cyber Cops. But still, it was the same show, but now it got a big Saturday morning revival. It wasn't new episodes. It was just more like, here, let's bring back this show that did all right on syndication. Let's see what happens on Saturday mornings. There you go. And that was the other unique thing about Saturday mornings. They could take something that came out years before, bring it and put it on to Saturday mornings, and to a newer audience, it'd be a new show. Even though the established audience, like myself and many people that grew up on Saturday mornings, would have already known what it was and knew when it first originally came out. But for the newer audience, it'd be completely new. Now, unfortunately, as time went on, the 80s would prove to be the last major success story when it came to Saturday morning cartoons, especially around with the original Big Three. Because as the 80s came to an end, so did Saturday morning cartoons for NBC. NBC kept Saturday morning cartoons going until at least 1992. The last animated attempt at any kind of programming involved a Macaulay Culkin show called Wish Kid, a teenage version of Yogi Bear, Cindy Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Snagglepuss, and all their related characters in Yo Yogi, Space Cats, and that was about it. Because what NBC was doing was they were starting to cater to that preteen audience. And how they started doing this was around 1989, when Saved by the Bell came a knocking. And Saved by the Bell became part of the Saturday morning lineup. Yeah, think about that. You had all these Saturday morning cartoons, and right at the end or right in the middle before you went back to, and right at the end of the block was Saved by the Bell, or right in the middle of the block before you went back to more cartoons was Saved by the Bell. And obviously NBC knew what they were doing by placing this show in these different time slots because it became a huge hit. It was basically not the first, but one of the first for that generation, the 80s and 90s kids. That became one of the first for the 80s and 90s kids live action cartoon series. Even though it wasn't a cartoon in reality, even though it wasn't animated, it was basically a live action cartoon. That's what it was. Especially when you consider the fact that during one of the NBC Saturday morning previews, they dedicated sort of a semi-story or semi-story arc, and if not sort of official episodic arc, with Saved by the Bell as part of the preview schedule. You know how they used to have those Saturday morning previews on the Fridays before the Saturday mornings debuted or premiered? Saved by the Bell had one of those. Look it up on YouTube. Look it up on YouTube. You'll find it. But the thing is, Saturday morning cartoons, like I said, had such a cultural impact. It's not funny. I mean, I'll tell you how much of a cultural impact it had. Not only did it expand from the Big Three, Big Four into syndication, but syndication kind of took it a step further. Syndication would take some of the shows that they already had, put them on Saturday mornings, but do even more with them. I remember on many occasions, KBHK, which is now KBCW, or KBVU, I guess, whatever it's called. I remember they would air Transformers on Saturday mornings. Now, most times it would basically be just a half hour, maybe an hour's worth of Transformers. It'd be just one episode or two episodes, and that's it. And then they would show other shows, other Saturday morning cartoons. But on occasions, they would dedicate 2 hours they would dedicate mainly the last 2 hours, the last 2 main hours, in their case, of Saturday morning cartoondom to Transformers. And you know why they did it? They did it because of one reason. Of one or two reasons. Several reasons. One of the major reasons is it gave them an excuse. It gave them an excuse to air. Are you ready for this? If I can get it out of here. It gave them an excuse to air the entire Transformers movie. Yeah, it gave them an excuse to air the entire Transformers movie from 9 to 11. How do I know that? Because I remember specifically Hold on for a sec. I get this straight. Try to get it lined up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. Trying to get this little top and bottom lined up with the steelbook. But anyway, I remember specifically when me and my family lived on Tamayo Street, on the last house of the Tamayo Street, that last house in Fremont, before you would go onto a catwalk, last house on the right, I remember living there one year, 1989, and my mom told me if I did good in school for that week, or something like that, she would let me watch and record Transformers the movie. And how did I know it was coming on? I would get the TV guide, open it up. I would go straight to Saturday morning. The first things I would do is go straight to Saturday mornings. Go to Saturday morning lineup, see when Transformers was on. And if I saw Transformers listed at 9 o'clock, and I didn't see listed at 9 o'clock, KBHK 44, and then I didn't see anything else listed afterwards. I didn't see 44's listing at 9:30, 44 listing anything at 10 or 10:30. I knew that if they didn't list anything after that, because usually it would say Transformers, and then 9:30 would say 44 something else, whatever it was, or another Transformers, and then 10 o'clock whatever show they had. But there were times, like I said, that they would block out 2 hours, and I remember looking at that TV guide, and it was one of those times. And my mom said, "You do good at school. You don't get into trouble or whatever." Can't remember. Can't really specifically remember what it was, but I know it was some kind of deal that I could record it. I lived up to my end of the bargain, and I got to record it. Of course, it was to the dismay of my sisters, because at that same time on CBS, this is how much of a cultural impact Saturday morning cartoons had on my family. My sisters, especially my older sister, was a fan of Beetlejuice, the animated series, and she wanted to watch it. Unfortunately, she couldn't watch it on the television that had the VCR, so they had to go and watch it in her room or in the other room or something like that. But it shows you, again, how much of a cultural impact Saturday morning cartoons had. The fact that syndication itself would do something like that. Now, of course, in time, as everybody's pointed out, the big three went to the big four when Fox entered the game, and then you had shows like Tiny Toons. You had shows like X-Men. Well, not X-Men at least, but you had shows showing up there that normally you wouldn't see. Like Tiny Toons came on there. I don't think Batman was on just yet. I think he was coming on, but he wasn't there. I think Batman, the animated series, premiered on Fox during the last year of NBC Saturday mornings. But anyway, as time went on, the original Big Three went into became the Big Four, and then, like as everybody knows, 1992 was the last time NBC had any Saturday morning cartoon lineup because the following year, 1993, or the fall of 92, was mostly all preteen. It was known as TNBC. And I will admit, I did watch one show on there that somehow caught my interest, and that was California Dreaming. The only thing I can really come up with as to why I like the show, well, it was a Saturday morning show, and it felt like I said about Saved by the Bell, a live action cartoon, but it also had good music. And that was something that I think not only caught my attention and got me to watch, but it got a lot of people to watch. I know, it sounds kind of strange, right? But anyway, as time went on, NBC walked away, abandoned their lineup, and Fox took over that third spot. And then for a while, it was just ABC, CBS, and Fox. And ABC kept going strong. They had Wild West Cowboys and Moo Mesa. They had Sonic Sat AM. They had Reboot. They had Bump in the Night, if you were a fan of that. They had the all-new What a Mess cartoon, which actually also, I don't know if this was just the Toon Disney broadcast, but I'm pretty sure they may have done this as well on ABC. Also incorporated some of the classic What a Mess cartoons from the past. It also still had the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show, which evolved from Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner to that, which everybody still tuned in to watch. So it was still going strong. CBS was still going strong. It just acquired this license to put Ninja Turtles on Saturday mornings. It had still Pee-wee's Playhouse. It still had freaking Muppet Babies. It had Garfield and Friends. And the list can go on. But CBS's time was even starting to wane a little bit as well, because as time went on, ironically, Ninja Turtles and Garfield were the last vestige of their Saturday morning legacy. Yeah, they were the last ones. But they tried to keep going. They tried to. 1994 saw the introduction of the CBS Action Zone, which consisted of Ninja Turtles, all new, darker, grittier Ninja Turtles, basically same continuity as same 80s to 90s continuity as they had before when the show first began in 88, 87. Wildcats, which was based on the Image comic by Jim Lee, and Skeleton Warriors, which is, I guess, in the same context and continuity as Captain Power. Why do I say that? Because if you take a look at both DVD covers, they're identical. But yeah, that was the last remnants. And then soon as that ended, CBS straight up went into news, into preteen programming blocks, what have you. And then it was just between ABC and Fox. And ABC kept its ground, kept going as strong as it could, even including after its acquisition by Disney to incorporate Disney programming, like I said, with DuckTales and even Darkwing Duck, which it had earlier on, along with Goof Troop. And that's another thing, too. Disney, in a sense, helped out the Big Four kind of really get people to tune in throughout the 80s and the 90s, or the 80s into the early 90s. I mean, NBC had Gummy Bears, Airs, and Winnie the Pooh originally, and then those shows went over to ABC. CBS, they had Saturday morning cartoons from Disney as well. They had the Wuzzles. They ended up having, I can't think of what the other Disney shows were, but they had the Wuzzles, I know that. They ended up having Raw Tunage, which introduced us to characters like Bonkers and his friends. It had the Little Mermaid series. It had the Aladdin series. So Disney really helped out. Disney also contributed with shows like Darkwing Duck, like I mentioned, Goof Troop, The Mighty Ducks, which they had Saturday morning episodes exclusively for. So they contributed in a big way, Disney, to all the networks. But as time went on and CBS was the second to kind of bow out, it was between ABC and Fox. And Disney, through the acquisition of ABC, tried to keep, I guess, in a sense, Saturday mornings going with what was known as One Saturday Morning, which incorporated new Disney shows like Pepper Ann, Recess, the acquisition of Doug as brand spanking new Doug, and Teacher's Pet, Hercules, 101 Dalmatians, the series, which was one of my favorites, and so on. And so on. They did what they could. But even through that act, they even later on put on shows like Kim Possible and brought back DuckTales. Not the one we have now, but the original, Darkwing Duck. They did what they could to keep the Saturday mornings going, but soon they bowed out, and it was just down to Fox. And then after Fox and the CW merged together, Fox kind of quietly bowed out, and it was just down to CW, and then you know the rest. Fox, or should I say, merged with what's the word? Oh, it wasn't just Fox, but later on, Warner Brothers got into the act too. So it came down. So you went from basically a big three, NBC, ABC, CBS, to a big four, including Fox, to a new interpretation of the big three with Fox in NBC's place, and then CBS bows out, and this is around the same time I think Kids WB starts becoming a big phenomenon, and now you got a new iteration of the big three, but this time it's ABC, Fox, and Kids WB, the WB network. And then later on, ABC bows out, and it comes down to Fox and the Kids WB. Then Fox bows out, and Kids WB, through its acquisition and partnership with UPN, becomes the CW, and the rest is history. The rest is absolutely history. So yeah, Saturday mornings, when you think about it, went from an original big three to one iteration to another to another. I mean, this is what you went with. You went from NBC, ABC, CBS to Fox, ABC, CBS to ABC, Fox, Kids WB to just Fox and Kids WB, and then that was it. So you went into basically NBC, ABC, Fox, ABC, CBS, ABC, Fox, Kids W. So you had three different iterations of the big three. A new Saturday morning challenger coming in and taking over the spot of an original. So yeah, Saturday mornings had its ups and downs, not just behind the scenes, but with the changing of the guard. And also you take in the advent of the soon-to-be streaming service of the internet, I should say. And as time went on, even Kids WB, even Fox realized this ain't gonna happen. We're gone. And then, of course, you had networks like Cartoon Network, you had Boomerang coming in, you had Toon Disney coming in, you had, Nickelodeon, of course, finally throwing their name into the hat, or throwing the hat into the race. You had all these other options. And then, of course, you had the streaming services starting up and stuff. So, yeah, a lot did contribute to Saturday morning's cartoon, to Saturday morning, to the legacy of Saturday morning cartoons going down. But if Kids Click, courtesy of Sinclair Broadcasting, can prove that, in a sense, there's still an audience, or still a, what I'm trying to say, what is it I'm looking for? So what I'm looking for is still an audience. There's still a niche, if you will. There's still something there for Saturday morning. There's still something profitable there for Saturday morning cartoons to have a reason to exist. And who's to say Saturday morning cartoons on broadcast television, mostly the original Big Three, can't make a comeback. Maybe even turn the Big Three into a Big Five. Now you might ask, well, you mentioned in the description, Brian, and in the title, what could have been. Well, what could have been is what could have been. Had the CW not decided to bow out, I think the CW could have really been the catalyst to help slowly bring Saturday morning cartoons on network television back to the forefront. I think if the CW with the Vortex block hadn't decided to back out and waited just a few more years to maybe get someone new in charge, who's to say they wouldn't have been something people will be tuning in today to watch? Who's to say that some of the shows you see on Discovery Family, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, who's to say they wouldn't make their way to the Vortex? Think about this. There are a lot of people, and this is a fact, there are a lot of people that don't have cable. I know that's hard to believe, but people would rather go out and buy those over-the-air antennas that we sell at places like my job, that you stick to the back of your television, that's made to, and these antennas are made to format to high definition because they're made to broadcast to bring in the high definition signal of over-the-air television. Believe it or not, there are people that don't have cable because of that kind of stuff. Now you might say, well, they got Sling TV, they got Pluto TV, they got all this. Yeah, they got all that. And that's great. That's great. But think about it. Even with all this, there are new episodes of Saturday morning of cartoons out there today that they can't see unless they go on the internet and try to download them through places like Dailymotion and such before they get taken down. Or YouTube and such before they're taken down. And by the time they think, oh, I finally got the episode, I can download it, it's gone. It's been removed. And they have to wait maybe what? To the middle of the year for maybe part of whatever season's going on, for whatever that new season is, whatever number that new season is, to appear on a streaming service. Point is, folks, the point is that I'm getting at here. The point that I'm getting at here, folks, is this. The Vortex could have been something that became the catalyst, became a foundation to rebuild Saturday morning cartoons on. They could have opened the doors for the Big Three, the original Big Three, and maybe even Fox to make a comeback into Saturday morning cartoons. Because again, imagine My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 8 being on the Vortex right now. Not a lot of people, like I say, have cable access to Discovery Family. Not a lot of people can make it on time to the internet to get the episode downloaded from wherever they can get it from before it's taken down for some reason. So imagine if the same new episode that premiered on Discovery Family premiered on Vortex later that year. Sorry, my arm hit the microphone stand there. But imagine if that same episode also premiered on the Vortex later that day, which is an over-the-air network. Imagine the audience that My Little Pony Friendship is Magic would get more so than it's got now if that was to happen. Same with Steven Universe. Same with SpongeBob. Same with, what's the show out there now? What's some of the shows out there now? Okay, what about the upcoming Rise of the Ninja Turtles? Imagine the possibilities if Vortex had their access on that, or even the previous incarnation before that. The point is, what could have been is something special had the Vortex at least held out until they got new owners, until they got someone new in charge. And again, like I say, they could have been the catalyst. They could have been the catalyst and the foundation needed to probably open the doors for the other big four networks that help put Saturday mornings on the map and make them what they are in the past and up to the present, and gave them the legacy that they now have that people look back on fondly with. They could have opened the doors for those networks to come back and try another shot at it. But because they bowed out, that never happened. Now, here's the thing. Here's a bit of a twist going your way. Here's a bit of a twist going your way, and I don't know why I did that. Hold on. But here's a bit of a twist going your way. But here's a bit of a twist going your way. Okay? Here's a bit of a twist. What if? Now, that's the other thing about this video. What if Saturday morning cartoons never died? Oh, not died, but what if? I mentioned how Vortex, what could have been if Vortex, CW kept the Vortex going up until today. What could have been? Now, let's take a look at a what if. What if the original big three, maybe the big four, decide, you know what? This Sinclair Broadcasting is trying to bring Saturday morning cartoons back. Maybe we should give it a chance again. But what could we air? What could we put on our block? Imagine that. Imagine if the original big three, maybe the big four, if you count Fox, was to make a comeback for Saturday morning cartoons. What programming would suit them best? Who do you think would get what? Who do you think would get what? Here's how I see it. Here's how I see it. ABC is owned by Disney. So there's no doubt it would get all the Disney shows that's on Disney Channel and Disney XD and even Disney Junior. They get all the shows. They get Mickey's Playhouse. They'd get Mickey's Raceway, I think, whatever it's called. Mickey Mouse Racers or whatever. It would get that. It would get all the Disney XD shows, which include Marvel shows, which includes the Marvel animated shows and Star Wars animated shows. They would get those. You would get probably the new Star Wars animated shows. They would get the new Marvel shows, past and present. They get all that. They'd even probably get Kim Possible on there because it doesn't matter when you air that show. That show would be a hit no matter what. No matter what audience you would have it in. They'd get that. They would get that. But then you ask, what about CBS and NBC? NBC, in my opinion, is the one that I think if the big four, big three, big four was to do this, if they were to make a comeback or make another attempt at Saturday morning cartoons, this is what I think NBC would get. NBC is Comcast Universal. So I think NBC would get some of the shows that are on Netflix right now, some of the Dreamcast series, they would get. Yeah, that means they would even acquire the Hotel Transylvania series from Disney Channel. They would air it on NBC. You might say, well, Hotel Transylvania is not Universal, not DreamWorks. What are they? Huh. Let me see. I think the Sony. Let me see. Sony Pictures. Yeah, so the Sony Pictures, so they would probably end up on NBC. But yeah, they probably get a Hotel Transylvania series. They would get Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs series. They would get Trolls. They would get the Troll series. They would get the Home series. They'd get Mr. Peabody and Sherman series. They'd get those. They would get any of those shows that are exclusive to Netflix right now, Hulu, whatever. They would get them and they would be on NBC, along with shows like Hotel Transylvania series and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They'd get those series. No doubt about it. No doubt. But then you probably ask, what about CBS? CBS would probably get a lot of the Nickelodeon shows, which means, yes, they would get the Ninja Turtle shows. They would get possibly SpongeBob if they want to throw that into the equation. They'd probably, just to see how it would work, they'd probably put reruns of Avatar and Legend of Korra on there. No doubt about that. But here's what I think CBS could dominate. CBS, in my opinion, should acquire CBS, if they were to make a comeback and do this. Not only would they get those Nickelodeon shows, I think that we'd end up getting the shows from Discovery Family. Yeah. Because think about it. Think about this. Paramount is all part of the same company. Think about that. Think about it. I think they would get them. Because Paramount has helped bring out the Transformers series. So I think the Transformers movies, whether you like them or not. So I think they would get some of the DHX, some of the Discovery Family series. And that includes Friendship is Magic. That includes Transformers, Rescue Bots, and Transformers Prime. You know, that includes Little's Pet Shop, previous and recent. They would get some of those other shows that they've had, like Strawberry Shortcake. They'd get that. They would get those shows. So that's the lineup I think CBS would have. They would probably have the Ninja Turtle shows, maybe the newest ones. They would have ponies. They would have My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, maybe the new one. They would have Littlest Pet Shop. They would have maybe Avatar and Korra. And maybe smack dab at the beginning, they could have SpongeBob to kick it off. Think of that lineup. Think of a lineup right there. Holy crap. But then you ask yourself, what about Fox? What would Fox get? That's a good question. That is a very good question. What would Fox get? Honestly, who knows? I think, well, here's what I think. CBS would have a phenomenal lineup with what I just mentioned. But if CBS was not to say, touch My Little Pony, was not to touch Transformers, not to touch any of the Hasbro series, DHX series, if they were not to touch any of those, here's what I think would happen. If CBS doesn't touch those and they just say, okay, our Saturday morning lineup, our resurrected Saturday morning lineup is going to be Korra, Avatar, SpongeBob, Rise of the Ninja Turtles 2012 to recent, and whatever else they have. Loud House. Just throw that out there. Let's just throw that out there. I know some people are thinking, oh, you don't want to do that, but let's just throw that out there for that correct. Loud House, if you will. If they were just dedicated to being an over-the-air broadcasting of some of the established hit Nickelodeon shows, here's where I think, and heck, they could be the home of the revived Rugrats and Wild Thornberrys, because I hear those shows are trying to be rebooted and revived. I don't know why, but there you go. Here's what I think if they were to say, okay, we don't want to include any of the Hasbro DHX stuff. Here's where Fox capitalizes. Fox could be the ones that nabs the DHX Hasbro shows to show on Saturday mornings alongside Discovery Family. Fox would nab them. They would. Fox would nab those licenses to coincide and co-air along with Discovery Family. They would. Fox wanted to be the top tier success in anything because we could see that. Everybody likes Gotham that comes from it. Fox would do it. If CBS doesn't say, hey, let's get some of the DHX shows to run alongside these shows, Fox would take those DHX Hasbro shows and they would put them on their network. You would have My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. You would have the new Gen 5 ponies, which could be a continuation of the current series. You would have Transformers Prime, Transformers Rescue Bots. You'd have G.I. Joe Renegades. How about that? That would be something for a new audience because probably nobody's ever seen it yet. You could have Littlest Pet Shop if you want to do that. The possibilities are endless. The possibilities are absolutely endless for something like that to occur because if Fox was the ones to say, I want that show from I want to go to, would have wanted to go to Discovery Family and say, let's take these shows, put them on our network, and see what happens. I guarantee if they were to do that, and if they were to combine those shows with some of the shows you see on Netflix and Hulu, and even Amazon, holy smokes, would you have a lineup? Here's potentially what Fox's lineup could look like. You could have Littlest Pet Shop. You could have My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, including Gen 5. Think about that. Strawberry Shortcake, okay, fine. G.I. Joe Renegades. Transformers Prime. Think about that. But then, here's what could get good. They can go to Netflix and say, you know what? We want Voltron. We want Voltron, that new Voltron series you got that people are raving about. We want it. Boom. New Voltron. That Voltron series on Fox. I don't know what would. I don't know how you could compete with that. Well, how about this? They look at some of those animes they have, and even though they may have to edit them down, maybe perhaps in some ways, kind of edit them, make them viewable and watchable and passable. They could look at something like that. They can look at something like that new Godzilla one and say, "We want Godzilla." That speaks volumes. That speaks volumes, man. Just think about that. Just let that just let that run through your mind. Amazing. It's just amazing. That would be alongside. How about this? How about this? Okay, check this out. They can make a deal with the CW. They can make a deal with the CW. They could go to the Fox Animation Studios, if they still have them, or some kind of animation studios, and they could say this. I mean, and I know, 21st Century Fox got bought up by Disney, or possibly bought up by Disney, but you get the point. Just imagine that Fox going back into Saturday mornings and this lineup that they would have. Imagine this. The icing on the cake. This would be the one that would really define them. Okay? Check this out. Young Justice. Think about that. Think about this lineup here. Think about that lineup. I just said, Young Justice. The new Young Justice coming. Godzilla. I may have mentioned Steven Universe earlier. I don't know. I may have. Can't think. Damn it. You know what? Fox could, if the big four were to make a comeback, and if not Fox, the CW, because people are saying Fox is bought out by Disney. It's not Fox. 20th Century Fox is bought out by Disney. Da, da, da. Okay, whatever. So let's say either Fox or CW comes in as that fourth entity to be part of this Saturday morning cartoon comeback for the big networks. Imagine, I just thought about this. Imagine the lineup. They could have on the CW or Fox or whatever it is, Littlest Pet Shop, Voltron, Legendary Force. That could end up on NBC because it's a DreamWorks property, but still, you never know. Things could be worked out. But let's say that ends up on NBC, so we'll take that out. Imagine the rest of this lineup. Imagine this. Littlest Pet Shop, Strawberry Shortcake. Started this morning with that. How about this? Get this. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. My Little Pony Gen 5, if you want to go back to back. And then if it's a WB related network, get this. Steven Universe. How about that? Steven freaking Universe. On the same block as My Little Pony. Holy crap. And then how about this? What other shows do they have on Cartoon Network? Let me see. Okay, imagine this. So I just said Steven Universe, probably one of the best shows out there. Teen Titans Go, with You Like It or Not, also on the same network. Imagine that happening. How about this? Justice League Action. Hey. How about this? Unikitty, which just came out. The new Ben 10 that just came out. And if you're a fan of it, Binocular, Dracula, Binocular, the new Binocular. How about that? DC Superhero High. Think about that. They want to do a full-length Equestria Girls series with My Little Pony. Imagine My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Gen 5, and Gen 5, right? Going back to back. And then imagine this. Imagine this. Equestria Girls, they want to do an hour and a half of MLP-related stuff. And then back to back with, are you ready? DC Superhero High. That could be quite a lineup. Think about that lineup I just gave you, man. Think about that lineup. Think about that. Think about this lineup I'm giving you. For CW Fox's comeback into Saturday morning cartoons, if they, along with the other big three, should make a decision to do that in the future. Imagine that. I mean, imagine this. Again, imagine this. You could have Strawberry Shortcake and Little Pet Shop starting off. You could have MLP, Friendship is Magic. The new Gen 5 MLP, if that happens, which is obviously going to. You can have Equestria Girls series, full length, if you decide to do that. So you'd have an hour and a half of MLP there. DC Superhero High. Steven Universe. Young Justice, the new season in past seasons. Unikitty, Justice League Action, and Binocular. Or Binocular, whatever. And the new Ben 10. Think about that Saturday morning lineup from 7 to 12. Just waters out, or 8 to 11, 8 to 12. Just waters out of your mouth, doesn't it? Just waters out of your mouth. Think about that. You got the first hour, which is Strawberry and Pet Shop. You got, which would be like 7 to 8 or 8 to 9. You'd have the pony stuff, which would go to about 10:30 or 9:30. You have Superhero High, Young Justice, Steven Universe, Ben 10, and Binocular. And what else did I say? I think I said that's about. And Unikitty. Imagine those shows in Justice League Action. It all depends on what they would choose. But imagine that lineup for Fox. To go up against a lineup on CBS that's mainly exclusive to Nickelodeon, like Viacom Nickelodeon shows. Going up against an ABC Disney-fied, mostly Disney-fied related lineup on that network. And then an NBC DreamWorks Universal related network. Imagine that lineup. Imagine the lineups for all those. And I said, if all these networks decided, hey, let's make a comeback, let's make a return to Saturday morning cartoons and put these shows on over-the-air broadcast. Imagine the possibilities. I mean, you talk about what if. That is the ultimate what if of who would win the Saturday morning battle, the Saturday morning war between those four networks, if they were to include those shows because of their connections. Because of those connections, it would basically be a toss-up. I mean, people might say, well, Fox would have the better lineup, no doubt, because of the variety. But you forget about this. People like the Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff now, even more so now that it's under the Disney banner. People like the DreamWorks stuff, and DreamWorks is owned, if not partnered, with Universal, Comcast, Xfinity. There you go. And then CBS, part of Viacom with Paramount and all them. I mean, the possibility, and they would have a decent lineup, decent. There's no doubt there. But again, the possibilities of who would win in the end, who would be the more dominant network in a return of Saturday morning cartoons is a big question of what if this was to happen. It's like, what if Saturday morning, if these big four decided to make a return to Saturday morning cartoon, make a return to Saturday mornings with Saturday morning cartoons, with the lineups that I mentioned. And basically it's like not a what if, but a who would come out on top, who would be the most watched network, who would be the one to have, as someone says here, the passion to march forward and take Saturday mornings to a whole new generation and show that Saturday mornings are back for good and that nothing's going to take it down ever again. And who would be the one to falter back and say, we can't do this. Saturday mornings are not our thing anymore. Just think about the possibilities. Think about what you could get here. I mean, just thinking about it makes me want to see it happen. It does. Makes me want to see it happen. So, excuse me. That's all I'm going to say on that, folks. Just thought I'd get this off my chest. I want to thank Pat Cortair, Pat the NES Punk, and Ian from the hashtag CU podcast. and them talking about Saturday morning cartoons that helped inspire me to do this. So thank you guys. If you watch this, thank you very much. And that's really all I'm going to say, folks. So let me know what you guys think down below. What are your thoughts on who could come out on top in the future? Let me know what you guys think. I would like to hear from all of you, except for what, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think. I really would appreciate it. And if you want to know what else I upload here, what other videos I will be doing and uploading, subscribe, ring and click that bell so you'll know exactly when my videos upcome and all that, or live streams upcome and stuff. So that's really all I'm gonna say though, folks, on Saturday morning cartoons, on what was, what could have been, and what if. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you all for watching live. Thank you all for watching post live. Again, let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear from you. And that's all I'm going to say for now. So until then, God bless. Take care. I'm out.